Hello and welcome to Googly Mania Live. You are watching Googly Goals. I am Samadrita, your host for the evening, and we have Ranabir Bhattacharyya with us, our FIFA expert. So today we will be discussing about the very high voltage match of this World Cup, Brazil versus Costa Rica. So Ranabir, the 5 times world champion Brazil are going to play against Costa Rica today. So what do you think? What should be their strategy for today's match?
Well, going into this specific group, we have already seen that Brazil faltered in getting a win against the Switzerland team.
Yeah.
Fans all over the world have been expecting Brazil to come in pretty good form because this time around they have got pretty good players in their team. Not only it includes players like Neymar, Gabriel Jesus, Coutinho, William, but also they have got pretty good defense in the form of Thiago Silva, Miranda and others. But in the last match we saw that Brazil, in spite of their killer instincts, they were pretty slow in the second half and didn't manage to come out with a win. So that is something what the Brazilian supporters have been looking for, and this group is pretty interestingly poised right now. And this is not at all one of the easiest groups in this World Cup. Apart from Brazil, we have got Serbia, Switzerland and Costa Rica. All these 4 teams are pretty capable. And if you look at the last match between Costa Rica and Serbia, you must have seen the way Costa Rica pressed, although they didn't win the match because Kolarov played a wonderful free kick, but otherwise the Serbian team played pretty well. And as far as Costa Rica is concerned, they did show how come they have qualified from the CONCACAF group. So Brazil's strategy would be to win this match. If Brazil doesn't win this match, they will be under tremendous pressure. In that case, they'll need to win the last match against Serbia. And don't forget, the Serbs are pretty in good form. They have got pretty good players like Matic. So I think the Brazilians won't be taking any risk.
Yeah. And
not only they are going to win today, they'll also target to score as many goals as possible, because having a good goal difference can be an added intensive in case of intense group matches of this caliber.
So we saw in the last match, Neymar was fouled like more than 10 times or near about 10 times. He was fouled by the Swiss defenders. So what do you think? What?
Yeah, I understand, because what happens, when you have got such players of the caliber of Neymar, yeah, there are players, there are observers who say that it's all about play acting from Neymar, but let's not forget that he was injured for more than 4 months when he was playing for PSG, Paris Saint-Germain, and he got an injury altogether, and he has just recovered from that. So, and if you have seen the way Brazil was playing last match, it's sad but true that only Neymar looked to be pretty creative in the Brazil midfield. So that's why he has to take the added responsibility. But that also makes the thing that the defenders of the opponent are going to target Neymar. So in the last match, I remember there were more than 3 yellow cards were shown for fouling Neymar. So I'm not saying that Neymar has to change his play style or something, but to some extent he has to strategize whether he's going to come up with the wings itself. In the last match, one thing which we didn't like about Neymar is that he was skipping the ball in his toe for too much time, and that actually slowed the game to some extent. And in this sort of high tempo match itself, where the 2 teams are expected to play in a pretty good speed, you can't expect a player of the caliber of Neymar to keep the ball so much. And after all, passing football is the call of the day. And if we consider the other players who are playing beside Neymar, like Gabriel Jesus or William, they are also pretty fast. And Neymar has to play. And if Neymar doesn't keep the ball in his feet, then the opposite defenders, even if they try to mark him zonally or police mark him of that sort, it will give ample space to the Brazilian forwards. And that's how Brazil can definitely opt for more goal scoring chances. In the last match, I'm not saying that Brazil played badly, but if you just consider the goal scoring chances they created, it wasn't a good statistic what the coach Tite would be looking at. So this time around, it's responsibility. Although Thiago Silva is the captain of the Brazil team, still it's the duty of Neymar to lead the team from front and create as many as goal scoring chances. Unlike the last team in 2014, when Neymar was also playing and he got injured in the game against Colombia, we saw that Neymar was the main goal scoring player of the team, and Fred and others, Hulk, they were not in good form. But thankfully, in this World Cup, Brazil has got a pretty well composed team. They have players like Coutinho. We will not forget the way Coutinho scored that curling goal against the Swiss defense. So that's something, is a pretty good positive thing for Brazil, and it's not that he has to take all the responsibility of scoring today. So Neymar's approach is going to be very pivotal as far as Brazil's chances in this match against Costa Rica is concerned.
So we will be right back. Stay tuned with us. We will be right back after a short break.
जिक्र जब भी जीएसटी की होती है तो नजरें ढूंढती हैं जीएसटी दोस्त विकास धनानिया को।
नमस्कार विकास जी, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आने के लिए।
विकास धनानिया बात करते हैं पूरी जिम्मेदारी के साथ
कि यहाँ पर गुड्स को रिसीव्ड नहीं किया गया है। हाँ, लेकिन तब आपको ये प्रूफ करना पड़ेगा कि भाई हमने तो हैंड रिक्शा से मंगा लिया है।
आम आदमी जीएसटी को जानना चाहता है, लिहाजा सवालों का अंबार है। इन्हीं सवालों को समेटते हैं हमारे होस्ट राकेश। हर ट्यूसडे और फ्राइडे रात 8 बजे होस्ट राकेश और दोस्त विकास धनानिया हो जाते हैं आमने सामने, सिर्फ आपके लिए जियो बांग्ला पर। देखिए जीएसटी की बात दोस्त के साथ जियो बांग्ला पर।
So we are back again. So Costa Rica in the in the first match they lost against Serbia. So what's gonna be their strategy in today's match?
Well, in spite of the fact that Costa Rica lost their match against Serbs, but I won't say they played pretty badly. And if you see, they don't forget that sort of goalkeeper they have, Keylor Navas, and the team composition they have. And I was just looking at the previous performances. They have reached the quarterfinals of last year's the 2014 World Cup itself. So it's not that Costa Rica is a pretty weak team. Apart from Costa Rica, Mexico, these two teams have been producing pretty consistent performances in World Cups. So I guess the style of play Costa Rica opted against Serbs didn't give them the results, because when they were going forward, they were going pretty smoothly, but when they reached the opposition penalty box itself, as far as the forwards are concerned, they were not effective. This is something the Costa Rican forwards need to look at. And when you're playing against a team of the caliber of Brazil, you need to be more innovative, you need to have more pace, and obviously what we definitely believe, skill is one thing which can be a great difference, because when you're playing against South American teams, you can definitely look at how teams play, especially going into the last match we saw yesterday, the team match between Argentina and obviously Croatia. We saw how the Argentina team was pretty slow, and in spite of the fact that they had players of the caliber of someone like Lionel Messi, Paulo Dybala, Aguero, and all these players like Di Maria, and Di Maria wasn't selected to play. The team selection of Sampaoli is also in that debate. But the saddest part of Argentina team was that it's not about losing, but losing by 3 goals, and that too in a group match, and that too against a young team like Croatia. That was the most heartbreaking aspect. So yesterday at the night time, I was just looking at the tweets itself, and the way players were saying that Messi looked dejected, and he didn't even wait for the players to change their jerseys. So that's how I think the South American teams need to change the way they play. And this is what I think Costa Rica will also be looking at today. They have keenly observed the pace with which Brazil plays right now. And especially in the last match, we have seen that Brazil was too slow in the middle. And they were not the midfielders for Brazil. Basically, Paulino, Augusto, they were not being able to get into convincing positions or dominating positions, rather controlling the midfield. So I think Costa Rica's primary target would be to get hold of the midfield and to boss it out. This is not only in this year's World Cup. Frankly speaking, I haven't seen the South American teams coming up good display. Colombia lost their first match. We know what happened with Argentina. We know what happened with Brazil. So this time around, today's match is very important from South Americans' perspective also. They need to show that they have the mettle, and this is why they're the 5-time champions. Today when I was coming, one of my friends called me up and saying, do you think that Brazil has got chance of making an early exit? Is there any statistic which shows that? So I was just looking into it, and way back in 1934 and 1966, in these 2 years we saw Brazil making an early exit, but hopefully, God forbid, Brazil won't be doing that today. So we definitely don't want a team which is going for hexa, that is the 6th World Cup win, will crash out from the first round, and to ensure that Brazil need to play well today, and no doubt they have a strong opposition in the form of Costa Rica. Another thing I want to add is that this time around we are seeing these small teams. Basically every year when you ask your friends coming up which team are you supporting, players come up with saying like, I'm supporting Brazil, Argentina, Italy or Germany or England or something. But this time we are seeing these small teams are playing pretty well. Iceland played so well against Argentina. Take the case of Russia, they have already reached the second round itself. Take the case of other teams. So Mexico even played pretty well, Japan played pretty well. So many people are saying that this World Cup is basically the small teams which we don't consider so much, they are coming up so much, and the difference between their potentially good teams is decreasing to some extent. So Costa Rica has to prove that they are also in the same league and they do deserve to go into the next round of this year's World Cup.
So, do you think that Neymar is the only strength of Brazil in today's match?
See, if you go through the reports itself, media reports, and whatever even the coach has been saying altogether, any football fan may end up saying that yes, Neymar is the only pivotal player. But believe me, if you go through these statistics of other football players who are playing for the Selecaos, the Brazilians, you can see that they've all star players in all positions. Take the case of defense only. Thiago Silva, the defender, the captain of Brazil, who plays for PSG, is a very dependable player. We saw how Miranda can play. And as far as the midfield is concerned, I am pretty sure that Paulinho is going to play an important role. Paulinho plays along with Messi in Barcelona. And if you consider the wing backs, Danilo and Marcelo. Marcelo is very popular with his curly hair. He plays for Real Madrid, and he is also one player who runs. I won't compare him with someone like Roberto Carlos. Roberto Carlos was a legend itself. But still, all other players which Brazil has, and Coutinho also, Willian also. Willian had a pretty fantastic season with Chelsea this year. And same goes with Coutinho as well. Just after he shifted from his base from Liverpool itself to Barcelona, he has taken his game level to another extent. But one thing I would love to see is that in the last match, Neymar was taking all the free kicks, all the corners itself. And he visibly looked, I won't say looked unfit, but rather he looked something around 80% or 70% fit. So this time around, I would love to see other players of the caliber of Coutinho or Gabriel Jesus coming up with the set pieces. I think that would somehow increase the chances of Brazil scoring, because unfit Neymar is very different from a fit Neymar.
What are the weak points of this Brazil and both the Costa Rica team?
Well, Brazil's main weakness is the speed with the ball and speed without the ball. If you had asked me the question something around 30 years back, I would have never mentioned the thing about speed without the ball. But nowadays what happens, even if you are not having the ball itself, you need to ensure that we are reaching the right position at the right time. This positioning of a player is very important in modern day football. And here it depends on a perception that how you need to, and you need to have some sort of dimensional understanding as well. For example, you are standing in the midfield and you know the player who is coming with the right wing is actually going up and may pass the ball, but you need to reach the position. This is what I mean by going in a position without the ball itself. In the last match itself, whenever Neymar got the ball, he was dribbling unnecessarily and he was making up the square passes, and it was actually not helping the tempo of the Brazil team altogether. So this is something Brazil needs to find. And another thing is that whenever Brazil is defending set pieces, they look very vulnerable. Even in the last match itself, when they were defending against the free kick itself, we didn't find Brazil pretty convincing. And after all, Switzerland scored that goal in a set piece only. So this is something Brazil need to be absolutely careful today. Otherwise, if they concede a goal up front, it would be very difficult, because the Costa Rican defense is also a pretty good one. It's not like Honduras or Panama or the weak sides. So that is something Brazil cannot concede a goal. And as far as Costa Rica is concerned, their main aim would, see, if Costa Rica is losing today's game, they're out of this year's World Cup. So it's a do or die for them. So they'll definitely look to score goals.
Yeah.
But when you're too offensive, it happens that you keep on playing open play. Now in open play, you may end up giving Brazil chances of scoring goals. So that is something the Costa Rican defense need to be pretty alert today, so that they don't concede unnecessary goals, because that will be certainly diminishing their chances of going to the knockout round.
So what is the expected scoreline in today's match?
Well, being a Brazil supporter, I would love to see Brazil win something around 2 goals or 3 goals would be enough. But going into the realistic chances, I would say that if Brazil wins by 1-0, the coach Tite of Brazil will be very happy. And a draw will be convincing one, but a Costa Rican upset, the Costa Rica defeating Brazil, I'm not saying, because on paper the Brazil team looks more balanced, more strong, and with more experience of international players. But I'm saying that chances of Costa Rica defeating Brazil is something 30%, and Brazil defeating Costa Rica is 70%. And as far as scoreline is concerned, I feel it's going to be something around 1-0 or 2-0 for Brazil.
So I'm gonna support Brazil today. What about you?
Yeah, definitely. Living in Kolkata itself, you don't have too many choices. And this time around, from my childhood only, I have seen friends either supporting Brazil or Argentina or Germany. And this time around, we have seen already Germany has lost their first match against Mexico. And yesterday we saw Argentina struggling a lot against Croatia. And hopefully, God forbid, Brazil will be playing today. That's what we can look for. At least the Selecaos need to keep up their brand of football. What we have seen from the legends like Garrincha, Pele and others, to the legends of the last generation like Ronaldo, Romario, Rivaldo and others. So I think Neymar and co has got a pretty task ahead, and they need to show why they are considered to be the lords of the Brazil team.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, people will definitely say that Brazil wasn't prepared. And in the last World Cup, we have seen how Brazil somehow considered 7 goals to Germany. So we don't want a repetition of such, and it was pretty heartbreaking for fans all over the world.
Yeah. So thank you, Ranabir, for joining us. Thank you all. And do share with us your previews, your predictions in our Facebook page, Googly Mania. And you can tell us whom you are going to support today. And please subscribe our YouTube channel. Till then, we will be back again with another preview. So till then, stay tuned with us. Thank you.